Welcome to What's Dean Doing in Thailand. Swadee Krap, Sabari mate. Okay, so I'd like to talk about 21 money saving tips for inside Thailand. One thing is to avoid Western food in Thailand. Western food can be quite expensive. If you fancy fish and chips, pizza or steak, chips and things like that, it can be very, very expensive in Thailand. Can even cost you the same as what it costs over here in the UK and America. So avoid Western food if you want to save some money. Also coffee shops as well. So if you're going in a coffee shop, it can be quite expensive unless you're going to a local Thai coffee shop. So if you're going to Starbucks, some places like that can be very, very expensive. So there's lots of other alternatives. So moving on from there is eat from the street stalls. Street stalls food is very, very nice. It can be very, very tasty. Or even just Thai food in shops can be very tasty. So if you're on a budget or you want to stay in Thailand longer, then it's best to try their local food. You can always ask them not to make it spicy if necessary, but street stall food, it can be very, very nice. Some of the dishes are beautiful and excellent, and it's well worth the price because it is just so cheap. So if you want to save some money on food, don't eat Western food unless you're going out and there's a group of you or something like that. It's going to be quite pricey if you do that. So if you can, eat around street food, the stalls is very nice. Another money saving tip is make sure taxis turn on the meter. So it depends on the different places you go. So they tend not to want to put the meter on and they give you a fixed price, and normally the fixed price is normally like really expensive. It could be double or 4 times more than what it should be. So always ask them to put the meter on. Also, if you're sort of like coming into the airport or something like that, they got ticket machines now where you sort of like press a button and it gives you the stand where you get your taxi from. So always ask them to put on the meter. If they refuse, then you can always report them or just get out of the taxi. You don't have to. It normally works out a lot cheaper if you don't have the fixed price. Another money saving tip is tuk-tuk drivers. They can be so expensive. They can be more expensive than a taxi. So with them you just need to barter them down, and sometimes they just can't even be bothered to drive. So be prepared to walk away. It's best to walk away, because it's not fair on the next person that if you accept their price, then the next Farang or foreigner that comes around is going to expect the same thing, that they're going to give a higher price. Whereas everyone turns around and say, no, I'm not going to have that price, and make sure you've got a sort of like price in your mind and try and stick to that price. So I've done that several times, and I've had to walk away. There's always another tuk-tuk a little bit further down that's willing to take you. But when you start walking away, they tend to agree, and the price almost around about what you want. So sometimes I might say, it's they might charge 400 baht, and I say no, 100 baht. And then it might in the end go to 120. So the odd 20 is not really worth the hassle. So fine, take it. But tuk-tuk drivers, they're one of the worst. You haven't even got aircon, and your hair gets thrown around all over the place. It can be a very good experience if you haven't been on a tuk-tuk, but even so, it can be expensive, so don't let them rip you off. Another money saving tip is get public transport. Use the Songtao. They're cheap public transport, and they cost you about 10 baht to get around, or 20 baht to get around. whereas a taxi might cost you 130. So just get the public transport. You could save yourself a lot of money, and it's quite handy if you've got luggage and things like that, because you can just shove it in there, or place it on the roof, something like that. So use public transport. It can work out a lot cheaper for you. If you're in Bangkok, another money saving tip is use the boats. Got a nice river there. Use the boats. Sometimes the boats are even free. They do river ferries. They do free crossings to various hotels around Bangkok. So if you want to get a ferry to a hotel, or ferry to a floating restaurant or something like that, and even be free. Or just get pay quite cheap money for a boat ride anyway. But some of the ferries are free. You can have a nice day out sometimes just using the free ferries, and so it's just another alternative to transport, but that's mainly for Bangkok. Next money saving tip: avoid preventable money changes, or charges I should say. Okay, so I don't know, it costs about, like in UK, £5 or something like that, or £6, or American dollars, £5, $5, something like that, to change out money. So even if you take a very small amount of money out, you're still going to get charged that same fee. So make sure that you take out larger quantities, so that you don't get charged so much. So I tend to take out quite a lot at one time, almost the maximum, just so it cuts down on the charges. So just do it that way. Works out a lot cheaper. Obviously, if it's a dodgy area, then might not best not to do that. But in a safe area, just do that. Money saving tip: barter over prices. I think the Thais expect you to barter the price, and to be honest with you, if you are a foreigner, Farang, and you go to them, they're probably going to charge you 4 times more anyway, or even more than that. So they sort of like expect you to barter, but some people, they don't barter because they're so used to their own country that that's a price, so that's a price you pay. It's not like that in Thailand at all. They can charge you four times more, or even more than that, because they're expecting you to bring the price down. So you have to sort of like play this game where you start at their high price, and then you sort of like go down and down and down and down, to acceptable to both of you. But if you go into a market, you know what, don't buy it. When it comes to the markets, a mistake that we made like a couple of times when we first went to Thailand. Some of the markets, you see something that you like, you just walked into the market, great, and the pricing is really good as well. You buy it, and then you walk further down and you see exactly the same thing, and it's like half the price or even cheaper. So you've just been ripped off. So the people know at the beginning of the market that they're likely to catch the customers first, so sometimes the prices tend to be more expensive. So walk further down the market. If you see something you like, you know what, it's probably still going to be there when you come back again, and you're probably going to see another 10 of them around the market anyway, probably at a lot cheaper prices as well. And if you don't, you can always go back to that same one person again. But barter over prices is expected for you to barter. The calculator's always there, where they're always saying, well, what price do you want? And you play this game. Sometimes, very occasionally, 1% of the time, people might come up with a price, and they say, well, that's a price. They might even have a ticket on it which gives a price. They're very, very rare, but they don't want to go into this bartering business, and that's a proper price. But in 99% of the time, go into a barter, if it's stores and places like that, then barter the price down. It's expected. Right, another tip: motoring regulations and fines. So don't break the law. If you're on a motorbike, chances are you haven't got tax, insurance and all that anyway. But like if you've hired one, you probably haven't got a proper driving license and that. So don't risk being pulled up, because they might ask you for those things. So if it's a motorbike, wear a helmet, or try to avoid the where they're trying to have roadblocks where they're stopping all the traffic, and sometimes they pick on motorcyclists all the time and they fine them. I can guarantee you that if it's a Thai person and they're not wearing a helmet, it's going to be one price, and then if it's a Farang or foreigner not wearing a helmet, it's probably going to be 20 times more the price. So try to avoid the roadblocks, or wear the helmet. It's not worth the hassle. Wear the helmet. In the end, it could save you, because there's always a lot of accidents going on in Thailand, and so just wear it. So beware of motoring regulations and fines. Sometimes I borrow a motorbike, sometimes I borrow a car. So if I'm driving a car, luckily if they see that the tax is in date and everything, they sort of like let you go. And luckily enough, it's normally got blacked out windows, so they tend to not see who's driving, so that's can be quite handy. But motorbikes, unfortunately, you can't get away from that. Next tip is obey the local laws. So this is like targeted outside shopping malls, so like littering, and they know that as in England and probably America, people outside, they're going to go into the into the mall, into the store, and they go puff puff puff, and then they throw the cigarette down on the floor and stamp it out, and wham, they've got you. They've got signs outside the doors, and they're waiting for people to do that. And there's so many people that do it, and sort of like they are sort of like, I don't know, I think there's two types of police. This is outside the malls, and they will stop you and they'll fine you, and they'll show you the sign, and then the fine is just ridiculous amount of fine for that. So they will take you to the office, and then if you refuse to pay the fine, then you take it down the police station. It's up to you whether you want to refuse to pay the fine. They could let you off, or they could take you down to the police station. It could cost you even more money down the police station. So don't do it. So if you're going to a shopping centre, don't smoke outside the shopping centre, and stop your cigarette out on the floor, because you will get fined. Another tip is don't get scammed or robbed. Obviously no one wants to get scammed, no one wants to get robbed. There's so many scams going around everywhere you go. So if coming into the country, you get all these people approach you, want a taxi, want a taxi, want a taxi. You probably do want a taxi, and they're not going to be the official taxis. They're just a private person, and there's always a risk that you could get robbed there. So don't use them. So make sure that you go down to the official taxi rank, where you've got the machine, you press a button, and it gives you like what slot to go to where your taxi is waiting for you. So remember, taxi cabs, make sure the meter's on. Okay, and when you're coming out the airport, sometimes you've got when you're picking up the luggage, there's a little place there where you can like get a cab, limousine, places like that. Is so expensive. And then when you come out the luggage area, and you come out to the foyer bit where all the people are waiting, you're likely to be approached by so many people. Oh, you want a cab, you want a taxi, you want a car. Just don't use them. It's just so expensive. You just go downstairs, you go to the official taxi rank where you're protected. So don't get scammed, don't get robbed. People know straight away that you haven't got a tan, and by the clothes that you're wearing that you're an easy target. So just beware. Protect your valuables. Another tip: protect your valuables and cash. So I tend to don't bring out too much cash with me when I'm in the hotel. I use the safe, put the majority of my money in the safe, and then just bring some money out, the maximum amount that I know that I probably would pay in a day, something like that. I've always got my card as a backup anyway, so don't take out too much money. People can steal wallets and things like that, whatever country you go to, whether it's Thailand, England, America. There's always people gonna try and take money off you, and if you're a tourist, you're a bigger target. If you're going to Thailand during the Songkran festival, which basically is a big water fight, you're likely to get all your money wet, all your valuables wet, your phone wet and ruined. So if you go into the Thai New Year, which is Songkran, make sure that it's protected in waterproof, some kind of waterproof material. So when I go to Thailand during that time, I tend to like a protective pouch. It's double sealed, and I put my phone in there. You can also put your money in there as well, and it's well protected, because you will get wet. If you're going to one of the major places, you're going to get wet. Even if you're taking one of the public transport places, you will get wet. The guy will stop where they're throwing water and just throw buckets of water at you, and it's even more funny because you're a foreigner, so you're even more of a target. So just beware. My first experience was literally that. I was in the back of a public transport. The guy slowed down. Buckets of water just was thrown at me, and I was absolutely drenched. I wasn't expecting. I was expecting water pistols, but this was like beyond that, and that's what happens. Doesn't matter if you're on a motorbike, they'll throw water all over you, even if you're riding a bike, and it's dangerous. I've seen so many accidents that happen in regards to motorbikes where they're throwing water and the person's trying to avoid the water and they're having an accident. So it's just like, I suppose the only way you can get away with it is if you're in a taxi cab and then with all the windows shut. So protect your valuables, protect your cash, and you likely get wet again anyway. I mean, I went to the supermarket to buy new clothes because the other ones obviously were soaking wet, and you go out again, you just get wet again. So there's no point. Now I just enjoy it. I just get water pissed on myself and just throw water at everyone else, and I've thrown buckets of water at people as well. So it's all fun. Join in the fun and games. And next tip is booking accommodation. Well, if you're going to be in Thailand for 2 or 3 weeks, don't book the same hotel. Just book 1 or 2 nights, and then you can have a look at like the internet, find out the best deals, or if there's a particular location that you want to be at, have a look at the hotels in that location. There's so many deals on the internet, and some say it's changing on a daily basis, so you can get some really good deals. So don't book the same hotel, because what happens if you don't like the hotel? And I think my experience is, sometimes it's a bit 50-50. Now I tend to know the hotels now where to stay, so I don't stay in crappy hotels, but unfortunately, even with some of the really good hotels that I've stayed in the past, it's gone downhill, unfortunately. They're not as good as they used to be. So just book for a couple of nights and book in another hotel and see what that one's like. Get some good deals on the internet, but don't book 3 weeks in one hotel. It's just you're just throwing the money away. Also, you don't have to give them, when you go to a hotel, you don't have to give them a deposit. Sometimes, if you know you're not going to use the minibar, nothing in the minibar, just refuse to say, no, I'm not going to use the minibar. I'd rather pay up front. So when I'm booking a hotel, I normally make sure it includes breakfast, because it works out cheaper that way, because if you're buying breakfast later, it tends to be really expensive. So it includes breakfast. And then I tend to I've forgotten where I was going from. So I book for breakfast first, and then I don't pay for a deposit, because they want, so let's say if you did use the mini bar, or you did go to their restaurant and you sign it to your room, if you know you're not going to do that and you're going to pay cash all the time, then you don't need to put a deposit down. So they will normally ask you, but you don't have to do it at all. I don't. I never do. I don't like them asking me for it either, because I tend to book in advance anyway, and I don't want to hand over more cash. Another tip: booking travel tours. So there's so many companies around. And all these different companies are doing the same tours, so have a look around, see which is the best tour, the tour that you want to go in, and then you can have a look, see who's like doing it, which one's the cheapest. Granted, it's not always about cheapness. Sometimes the transport might be rubbish, so have a look at the different tours. Some places they will tend to take some money off their commission, so they want the deal with you, so they'll drop their margin down. So whereas they might make, I don't know, 30%, they might only take 20% or 10%, so they might knock the price down for you. So just bear in mind there's different companies that do basically the same tours. Or if there's a particular place that you want to go to, what you can do is get a taxi cab to take you there. He's very happy for a small amount of money to just stay there all day if necessary, or just go to sleep in a car. So if there's a few places you want to go to, use a taxi cab, and then when you go to one place, when you come out, he's going to be there waiting for you, and then you can go to the next place. So it can be quite cheap, and then you haven't got all this hassle with the coaches and all that, getting off and on the coaches, and then you're restricted to 1 hour in one place. You can take as long as you want. So that's what we tend to do. Other times you do have to book tours, but if there's just 1 or 2 places, especially if they're in the same direction, then it is good to do that. You can save a lot of money like that, and then you haven't got the hassle of waiting around for a taxi, anything like that, because it's already there. Another tip is packing for travel. Most people, including myself until very recently, you pack the shower gels, the shampoos, the conditioners, the toothpaste, the sun cream, and other things like that. And it's a lot, and it can be quite expensive. Don't need to bring it. You could end up being over the limit when you're going to Thailand on your luggage and paying a lot more. Don't need to. When you get to Thailand, you go to 7-Eleven, you can buy everything from 7-Eleven, and it's like cheap. So you can get almost the same shower gels and everything else. There's some slight differences, but especially toothpastes, they all tend to be quite the same as what you would get in the UK or America. So save yourself some money, and you don't have to pack all that stuff. Some hotels, they've mostly got all that stuff there, although I've noticed recently they've gone large, and they've got these refillable containers now, the large versions, so they don't sort of like give you a load of shampoos and creams, all that now. They've seemed to have cut down on that a lot now, Before you used to get everything. You used to get free toothpaste, toothbrush and everything like that, but don't expect it so much now. But go to 7-Eleven. You know, there's lots of places you can go to get that kind of thing in Thailand. They're just everywhere. 7-Eleven, I mean, on the same street you probably can get about, like, depending on how far the street is, but you can go a short distance, you see one 7-Eleven, and then you walk another 2 minutes, you see another 7-Eleven. But you've got like Tesco's, Family Mart, you know, you've got lots of places you can get that. So don't worry about that. Don't need to bring it. You just put in so much in your luggage that you don't really need. Another thing I'd like to talk about, a tip, Thailand dual pricing. So they've got a dual pricing system in Thailand. So they've got the foreigner price, and then they've got the Thai people price. And the Thai people price, most times I seem to think it's free. They don't charge at all, whereas a foreigner has to pay a lot of money to get in. Most times I don't agree with it, but on the rare occasions I do agree with it. Like when I went to, when you go to a temple, some temples, unfortunately, the bigger ones, you have to pay to get in. And it's all like got one area for foreigners, and then you got the other area for the local people. And of course, if your wife is Thai, she's going one way and you're going the other way. And you know what's going to happen? When you go your way, you're going to have to pay. So you could always go the Thai way. I don't know if there's anyone to stop you going that way, but expect to pay a high price when you get in a touristy place, whereas a Thai person pays like hardly anything at all. Now, as I said, most times I don't agree with this at all, but in terms of temples, I do agree with it, because I know that the Thai person, although that might not be spending any money to get in, I know that they're going to spend a lot of money when they go there, because they're going to be buying the candles, the incense, and they're going to give lots and lots of donations, that's what the Thai people tend to do. So I know they're probably going to pay a lot more money than the English or American person or foreigner. So I suppose that's when I agree with it. All the other times I don't agree with it. Some places are free for the Thai person. So as I said, we went to a floating market when we was in Hua Hin, or Hua Hin, and it was for the Thai person. It was sort of like free to get in, but I had to pay to get in. But you had a free boat ride. Before everyone used to have to pay for the boat ride if you want it. But of course I was with my wife, and so I've got a free boat ride, but because she got in free, then she don't get a free boat ride. So then you have to go back and get a ticket, because otherwise you can't go together. That wasn't too bad, and to be honest with you, the prices inside there was fantastic. It's cheaper than what you can get inside, which is extremely rare, because it's normally very, very expensive for the things inside tourist area. But there you go. So dual prices, just be aware of it. It annoyed me so much in the beginning when I was going to Thailand, because of the price difference. Is just ridiculous. You want to see the tigers and the lions and all that, and it's just like ridiculous amount of money for the foreigner, and for the Thai person they're paying hardly anything at all. So most times I don't agree with it. It's not fair, but there you go. It is what it is. So dual pricing system in Thailand. Don't do that in the UK. Not allowed to, against the law. But there you go. Okay, another tip: buy beer at 7-Eleven or Family Mart. So it can cost quite a lot of money if you go into like a bar or something like that to get a drink. It's just cheaper if you go to 7-Eleven or Family Mart and just get it from them. So or if you're going into sort of like a restaurant, it's obviously it's more expensive in the restaurant. So have a drink later. Go in 7-Eleven, just get your drink later on. That way you can save yourself money. Next tip is rent a motorbike. So instead of going around in taxi cabs all the time, and that can be quite expensive. This all depends on where you're staying. If you're staying in Bangkok, don't rent a motorbike. I wouldn't advise it. The traffic is just an absolute nightmare. But I suppose if you're going to a place like Phuket or somewhere like Hoi Hin, then yeah, rent a motorbike. But please be aware. They tend to ask for your passport, and there is some scams out there where you rent a motorbike and you bring it back and you haven't damaged it or anything, and they say no, you have to pay for the damage. There's some scratches on the bike, something like that. So, and then they've got your passport and they won't give you it back until you paid the money. So you're stuck. So most people, they tend to pay the money, because even when you get the police involved, they probably, you'll probably have to pay some money anyway. So make sure you don't hand in your motorbike. Make sure you don't hand in your passport. And when you get your motorbike, if there's any chips or anything like that, take pictures of it, and make sure they can see that you're taking pictures, so that when you return it, you can prove that no, this was like this before. Take a copy of your passport. So it's fine to give them a copy of your passport, but don't give them your passport. There are some places apparently that will, because obviously you have to give all the details where you're staying and that. So some places they con you, and you go and take, you rent your motorbike and then you park it obviously near your hotel, outside your hotel, and then they come around with spare keys and just take it away, and then you have to pay for the motorbike because of the loss on the motorbike. So some places do that. I don't know of it personally, but I've been told that's what happens. So just beware. I suppose you can park it somewhere else. I don't know, but luckily in the town that I go, there's no problem renting motorbikes. You can get recommendations of different places where you can go. So just beware, if you're renting motorbikes, don't hand over your passport, and make sure that you take pictures of any damage on the bike, even if it's little chips and things like that, because they could turn around to you and say, look, this damage weren't there before, you're gonna have to pay for it. Yeah, so that's that. Another tip is you don't have to tip. You don't have to tip in Thailand. I know in America and places, UK, we get used to tipping, but in Thailand they're not expecting you to tip. Obviously, if the service is absolutely fantastic, then it's up to you. But you don't have to tip. They're not expecting it, so you don't need to. Don't feel obliged that 10%, blah 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 blah. You don't have to tip. Don't save the money for something else. My wife, she tend to say no, don't tip, and then she used to take the tip instead, or I used to put the money down for a tip, and then she used to take some of it away, because it's basically not necessary. Another tip is setting yourself a budget. So either a daily budget, a weekly budget, or a monthly budget, and try to stick within that budget. So there's lots of tips there that could save you a lot of money. So in summary, we've got 21 tips. So avoid Western food, eat from street stalls, make sure the taxi cab turns on the meter, negotiate with tuk-tuk drivers the prices, use public transport, take the boats in Bangkok, avoid preventable money charges, so take out larger amounts, barter over prices, remember about motoring regulations and fines, wear your helmet, obey the local laws. That was to do with cigarette smoking outside like the stores, the malls. Don't get scammed or robbed. Protect your valuables and cash. Book in accommodation, so again only book 1 or 2 days, and then look for other good deals. Booking travel tours, you don't always have to book a travel tour. You can just use a taxi cab, and he's quite happy to sit for hours if necessary in his cab, when he normally lays down and goes to sleep. He's quite happy because he's getting paid his daily, more than his daily rate anyway, so he's very happy. You can use filtered water instead of buying bottled water, so you can just refill your water. It works out cheaper. I don't see many people doing that, unless possibly you're going to be staying in Thailand for a long time, and then over a period of time you can save yourself some money. Dual pricing in Thailand, yes, unfortunately you can't do much about it. Buy beer at 7-Eleven or Family Mart, it works out a lot cheaper than restaurants. Renting a motorbike, so don't use a passport, take pictures of the bike, and beware that they could scam you and take the bike away with the spare keys. Don't tip is number 20, and 21 is setting yourself a budget. That's the best way to do it. So if you've come to Thailand, normally you come to Thailand with a certain amount of money. Just make sure that you break it down into weekly or daily intervals, so that you're within your budget. So when you're going home, you haven't got tons and tons of debt on your credit card, because that's what you've done. And that's it, really. So if you like this video, then please thumbs up, please subscribe, and if you want me to chat about anything else about Thailand, then please make some comments below, and then I'll do another video. This 21 money saving tips is from my blog, which is www.digitalnomadthailand.com. There's lots of more interesting things as well, but that's basically one of my items that I covered in my blog. So thanks for watching, and take care, and speak to you again. Bye.